Thank you for joining me on the first of many series to come called the Dr. Tate's Healthy Love Talk, the real talk everyone needs to have with themselves and others. Where true love begins. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ate for. If you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. That poem inspired me to write this article and the series that we're about to get into. And I have an exquisite panel, and I just want to introduce you to a couple of my colleagues. Dr. Stevens, businesswoman, minister, counselor, speaker, author of Empowering 31-Day Journal. I had the privilege to read it live from DC. How you doing?
Wonderful, thank you.
Great. Karen Marshall, COP, certified health coach based in Mount Dora, Florida, right around the corner from me. By the way, COP, I looked that up, Karen. It was Center for Obesity Prevention and Education. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here this evening.
Great. We're looking at Gabby Love, L-O-V-V-E, International Love Coach, based all the way up in cold New York. How you doing, Karen? Gabby?
Hi. I'm doing well. Thank you, Dr. Tate.
All right. And we have producing and directing this show and many shows to come is Cooj, empowerment educator. And thank you, Cooj, for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's get on with this exciting show. A brief 30 seconds, if you can, each individual will say a little bit about themselves. Let's start with you, Gabby.
My name is Gabby Love, and I am a love coach here in New York City. I work mostly with singles and couples that are interested in taking their love life to a better place than where it stands at the current moment.
Thank you. Dr. Stevens, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Stevens, based here in Washington, D.C. I am an entrepreneur and a life coach. I own a holistic wellness practitioner center where we help people live holistically, live healthy lives. And I do personal coaching to help people realize their potential to get their life to the next level.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Karen.
Well, good evening. I'm Karen Marshall. I'm based in Mount Dora, Florida, just north of Orlando, and I absolutely love what I do to help people transform their lives. I help them achieve weight loss and health and develop healthy habits for long-term success. I tell my clients I'm kind of like their GPS because I find out what they want and where they want to go, and then I help them get there. And if they veer off the path a little bit, I just say recalculating. So it's just wonderful to be able to help people.
Very good, Karen. And Cooj.
I'm an empowerment educator, and one of the things I do in empowerment education is to produce television programs such as this program. And in fact, before we get started, I have a question for you, Dr. Tate. You're a grief specialist. How do you get into the healthy love talk business? Isn't that the opposite side of your business?
That is an interesting question, and I'd like to address that as by saying that when I have counseled people, what I do, I listen for the things that are not being said as opposed to things that are being said. And what makes it interesting, once you tune into that, all of them, just like all of us, need love, need someone to care about. And that what brought me into this particular arena. Good question. Let's kick this thing off right with one of those questions that all the philosophers has been searching for, and we're going to take a scrap at it right now. What is love? Now, I know I'm going to put you all on the spot because I want to give you all that same 30 seconds that I gave you all available. Dr. Stevens, let's tackle that one.
Love is the essence of security and protection. being whole, sound, and stable. Sum it up in my 30 seconds.
Gabby.
um, Love to me represents many, many things. And to keep it short, some of the things that come to mind immediately are peace, and I mean peace of heart is what I mean by that. Warmth, warming of the soul per se, and I always think of ooze, which is an oozing of extra emotional feelings.
Mm-hmm. Karen, let's give a shot at that question. What is love?
Well, there are, of course, 1,000 definitions of love, depending upon who you're speaking to. But for me, God is love. And his love is the absolute perfect example of unconditional sacrificial love.
All right, Coach, since we're the only men on the panel, let's bring it home.
Well, for me, love is forgiveness. Love is caring. Love is sacrifice. Those are the key elements of love.
Okay, I think that's fair. Now, we all know how toxic love feels and healthy love feels. Please, Dr. Stevens, what is your take on a toxic love?
For me, toxic love is abusive and controlling. When someone's trying to control you and they're abusive, they're taking control of your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul. That's toxic.
All right. Coach?
Toxic love to me is any love that hurts your soul and another person's soul, and of course their body. And also toxic love is when people get love mixed up in the, for example, there's a theme song called "You're Nobody Unless Somebody Loves You." That's a toxic love, because if you are nobody unless somebody loves you, if anybody loves you, that doesn't make you somebody.
All right. Gabby?
Okay, I deal with my clients. I deal on a little bit of a lesser level of toxicity in love, more with issues like unmutual love or unequally reciprocated love. And so a little bit on a lighter scale of toxicity, but that still, I believe, does initiate a place for deep feelings of that start the toxicity process to enter into the man or the woman's psyche.
It's amazing that when you're walking around anywhere, you see more toxicity relationships than you see healthy relationships. And that's one of the key elements of the reason why I wrote this article and doing these series. So the opposite of that, let's talk about a healthy love. Karen, 45 years. Wow. Let's talk about a healthy love. Tell me.
That's 45 years of marriage.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Not just
I'll
hanging
tell
out
you,
now.
I feel so blessed to have had the opportunity to grow and love my husband, and we will be celebrating our 45th anniversary on April the 3rd. And I believe it begins with respect and honesty, compassion, and being able to compromise. A saying that someone told me when I first got married was, never go to bed angry. Don't let the sun set on anger. And I think it also has to be not being codependent, but being interdependent. And what I mean by that is I love my husband, and I need him because I love him. I don't love him because I need him. And we just have our favorite place to be is together.
I like that. I like that a lot, Karen. Gabby, could you elaborate on that, being a love coach? I know you have a lot of insight on that. Please.
Healthy love, it begins with the mutuality. It has to be mutual, with two parties wanting to go in to create what I call a blissful connection. And in that, both parties must love themselves first in order to then be able to love the other and receive the other. And it seems like Karen and her husband have certainly been able to master a blissful connection for that long. That's a beautiful thing, Karen. Good for you.
Okay, okay. Dr. Stephen, you're a spiritual counselor. And by the way, ladies, you can talk a little bit longer. The 30 seconds was just in before. You just give me a little more because I'm hungry for more. That's what I'm hungry for more. Dr. Stevens, please, could you elaborate on the healthy love question?
Absolutely. You know, Karen said something that's so key about God is love. And the one thing the Word of God says, love the Lord with all thy heart, our mind, and your soul. And the first thing, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And I also, you know, for the single ladies out there that's expecting to find love or love to find them, the one thing I tell them, if you really want, if you want a man to love you, he must love God so that God can love him through you. But if you don't love yourself, you don't know what love looks like or how it feels or what it smells like, what it tastes like, you won't recognize it. So you definitely have to love yourself and love God.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stevens. Coach.
I think the most important thing about a healthy love is the healthy love talk. I think there's a feeling that you just fall into love or you fall out of love. But love, a healthy love is not an accident. It's something that people plan. And it's something that, and to plan it, you have to talk about it. We just went through all of our definitions of love, and they were very similar, but they were different. That conversation you have to have. What is it that I think love is? What is it that I'm giving? What is it that I'm expecting? And you can't just assume that because you see a sparkle in their eye or they kiss great, that's not the conversation. That's the sex talk. The healthy love talk is the talk where you set up the parameters for what it is your dreams are and what it is that you have in common and what rules, such as the one Karen said, used. You know, we're not going to let the sun set on an argument. Even if it means you got to stay up all night.
And Dr. Tate, can I interject something in there?
Yeah, go ahead, Dr.
There's also a tone that comes with healthy love talk. You know, healthy love talk, you're not screaming at each other. You know, there's a tone that comes to that.
Yes,
Are you saying you can't have a high volume love talk?
I'm not saying you can't have high volume because some people just talk loud naturally. But, you know, there is a level beyond the high volume where you're screaming at each other.
But I'm glad we didn't give an example then. So.
I call it mouth intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's return to the theme of this show, which I believe is the foundation of this, we'll call it phenomenon of love. Why is it so important? And I just want you to think about it for a second. Why is it so important to love oneself first and commit to their dream? Cooch, let me go back to you.
I think you cannot really value a love if you don't value yourself. Woody Allen used to have this saying that I didn't want to be part of a group that would have me as a member, which basically what you're saying when you're saying that if somebody loves me, then I'll love me, you have it backwards. I haven't seen an instance where that's ever worked. So, that's my contribution to the theme.
And I think I told you guys before that I have a program that's called the I Love Me, You Love Me program. I also believe that, I think it stems from relation. I have authentic relating programs as well, but if I don't know how to relate to myself, have those beautiful words such as compassion and gratitude and acceptance of myself, I just don't know how to take that out into the exterior world.
Okay. Karen, it's quite interesting, this question, because we didn't mention that you were an opera singer. Your dream, oneself. Let's talk about that, Karen.
Well, being an opera singer, music is my joie de vivre. My mother said I started humming before I was a year old. But I also had a deep passion. I wanted to have a home and a family, and I married a man who became a minister, so of course I didn't want to go off someplace and be performing in opera. So that was always my part-time job. So I had a career in the insurance business for 45 years, and I felt it was really important to stretch myself and just become the best person that I could be, growing and learning and sharing my gifts with others. And I made it work with our family by setting priorities and God first, family, and then work and play. And as a family, we did all kinds of things together. They were even involved, with my part-time singing. We had traveling theatrical company. My husband did all the sound and the lighting, and the kids were in the show. And I think one of the things that really made our family strong was we always had dinner together. But the best thing was we always went to church together as a family. And I know it's an old phrase, but I truly believe the family that prays together stays together. So that's how I was able to incorporate my singing and my career together and still have a family. And I'm so blessed.
I truly appreciate you, Karen, being on this show. Truly, I do. Dr. Stephen, you had that same type of juggling skills, married, children, minister, public figure, entrepreneur, speaking. I'm just getting tired by saying all this stuff. What? Committed to your dream, oneself. Tell me about that.
Well, I want to talk about that loving yourself, in my book, and I always, you have to love yourself. And I tell my single ladies, in my book I have a title that says, Loving Me, Myself, and I. And one of my quotes I have is an inspirational quote that says, who can love me greater than myself? Of love so deep within, only I can touch. It's the greatest amount of self-love anyone can have or experience. It's like an epiphany of the greatest kind of love. And I'm loving every part of me, myself, and I. The one thing I truly believe is you cannot teach anyone how to love you if you don't know how to love you, because they will not know how to love you. They're going to bring to the table their experience of loving every other woman they done loved. But until they encounter me, they will not know how to love me unless I teach them how to love me.
Gabby, love coach.
Yes, I work with a lot of women on this right now. In one of my most popular programs is the I Love Me, You Love Me program, and it's all about the self-empowering of getting a woman with a program and strategy set in stone, week to week. What am I going to do that's going to amplify that I feel great about myself? What's my plan? What am I doing week to week? And for some people, it starts going back into old patterns that need to be reframed into new patterns. For some people, it means taking action, like getting out of bed and getting to the gym and making sure they have 2 or 3 social activities per week. So everyone is different, but it's absolutely necessary in order to have authentic relating that leads into a blissful connection with somebody. It must start with the self.
I concur with you, Gabby. Is it impossible Um, because I run into a lot of people that say, I can't do this because ... or I can't do this because he or she won't allow me ... And they have legitimate excuses. What is it that you can advise them, anybody on the panel, that could just make that come true? Because I hear it every day, every day.
I like the word reframing. You know, part of the psychology work has to do with helping individuals to see how they might be their own worst enemy for, not always, but maybe for that particular point or subject. And reframing what they're saying, it's teaching them different ways to look at it so they can feel different about what they're looking at. And it helps from that point for them to be able to reframe it and change it.
Okay. Okay. Stephen, Karen.
Yeah, let go of the excuses. One thing Karen said is, and I thought was a key point, was interdependent. You must be independent. When you finally realize your independence, and Gabby said the mindset, you have to have a paradigm shift in your thinking. When you become independent, then you can allow someone else in and know their area where you can depend on them, rather than using them as an excuse not to do. Because that's exactly what it is. It's an excuse not to succeed. It's an excuse not to get something done. And actually, the excuse come out of fear because they feel they're going to fail anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, let me take us on some popular ideas. We'll call this myth or truth. Gabby, I'm going to shoot it to you first. So sit back, relax, and just listen very closely. We waste time looking for the perfect lover instead of creating the perfect love. Myth or truth?
We waste time
looking for the perfect lover
looking for the perfect lover
instead of creating the perfect love.
Well, I believe that is a myth for some people, and it is a truth for some people. But more so, I think looking is fine too at times. I think that's a lot of the masculine energy. And men do look for what they want. And actually, I think that women now have more access to actually take some charge in that department too, with all of the, especially in the urban communities like Los Angeles, Miami, and New York, with the online dating and all these magnificent websites that are putting magnificent people together. I think it's good to take a little proaction, masculine or feminine at this time, into searching and looking for what you want, and just be very careful to edit your choices accordingly instead of spending too much time. If you have a date with somebody who you think is cute, but you just saw that bad sign, but you're looking at all the good stuff. Well, no, I say focus on the bad. I say use that time to edit your choices accordingly. And if you see something that's bad, walk away instead of trying to, what's that saying, where you force the square into the circle.
Okay. Anybody want to comment off that one?
Well, go ahead, Dr. Stevens.
I would say out of ignorance, for some it is truth. They sit around, they waste time looking for love instead of knowing how to create it. We stay in bad relationships, and instead of creating the relationship you want, and you have to have the same mindset. Word of God says, how can two walk together except they agree? So you have to have the same mindset going in, and some standards that are the same in order for you all to agree. But because they are looking, sometimes we always think the grass is greener on the other side. So we're still looking instead of realizing that our grass is green. If it's not green, plant some seeds. Plant some seeds so the grass can grow. So you can have some fertilizer and water. Put something into that grass, that yard there. Create that environment and create the atmosphere that you really want.
I like it.
I see you have some Southern in you, Dr. Stevens.
That's accent.
Coach, go ahead.
Now, Dr. Stevens said exactly what I was thinking. I agree.
We'll go to the next one. Karen, this one's going to you. The primary determinant of our health is the chances we take and the choices we make. Myth or truth?
That's absolutely true. So many people say, oh, well, it's all because of, my family has been overweight. My family has this, my family has that. But really, our health is determined only by 30% of our genetics. 70% of our health is based on our individual choices. So we can change our life by the choices that we make.
Wow. Wow. You're listening to experience, y'all. Y'all know what y'all talking. Listen to experience. Coach, we can change a person through constructive criticism or nagging. Myth or truth?
Myth. Number one, nagging doesn't work. I think we would have a consensus on that of anybody that has either taught or coached or experienced a relationship. So what people came up with was a term called constructive criticism, which is calling nagging constructive criticism. That doesn't work either, because most people, nagging is sort of in the eye of the beholder, not in the intent of the person doing the criticism. So calling it constructive criticism doesn't take away the pain. Now, in teaching empowerment, a lot of people ask me, okay, well, then how do they know that they're doing anything wrong? And there is something very powerful tool. It's called non-judgmental feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And practice that. In other words, not you need to do this. I would feel more comfortable if this situation would change. Not judging you or saying that what you were doing is bad or good, but putting the onus on yourself rather than saying that the other person is bad, that they're not okay and you're okay. That does not work, in my experience.
Anyone want to comment off that? No nagging now, huh?
Positive reinforcement.
I got you. Dr. Stephen, forgive but never forget. Myth or truth?
For some it's true, for some it's myth. What I would say is that, when an incident happened that hurts you, you have to make a choice to forgive. You can never forget, but you don't always bring it up. Because if you truly forgive someone, you don't mention it. I mean, I can think about things that have hurt me many, many years ago, even in my childhood. I can remember the hurt. I can remember the incident that caused the hurt. I had children. I can still remember the intensity of the pain, but I don't bring up how that pain made me feel. And if I truly forgive you, I don't continue to bring it up. I move on and I grow from it. So you choose to forgive and you don't bring it up. Because then if you continue to bring it up, have you truly forgiven anyone? Have you truly forgiven the person that hurt you?
I call it mastering the art of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go has to be mastered. That's true letting go.
Karen?
Well, what I have found, if you don't truly forgive someone, the only person you hurt is yourself. The person you won't forgive is not being hurt. If you retain that and you're angry, it's hurting you. And so the forgiveness is the best step to helping you grow and learn and heal.
And I like to piggyback off of Karen, because forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is truly for you.
Right.
They have moved on. The person that have hurt you, majority of the time, if they're not still in your life, they have moved on, and you're holding yourself hostage and prisoner to that pain, to that unforgiveness. So forgiveness is not for the other person. It is truly for you.
I agree.
If I can ask a favor of all the guests, would you please put up your Twitter and your webpage so that if people want to contact you after the show or during the show that they can reach you?
All right. Thank you, Coach. We have a lot of these questions. I will see if we can get them in before time. Coach, I'm going to come to you. If they love us, they will change. Myth or truth?
I think that's a myth. Change is very important. You cannot grow if you do not change. And most of the growth that occurs outside of our comfort zone. However, all the research says that you cannot motivate people. Scientists haven't figured out a way to do that. You might inspire them, but they have to motivate themselves. And you definitely can't negatively motivate them. So I think that is a myth. And the fact that somebody doesn't change, whether it's alcoholism or smoking, doesn't necessarily mean, or doesn't mean they don't love you. What it actually means is they don't love themselves enough to do the things that they need to do to be healthy so they can live long enough so that you can have more fun together, or that they can be around for their children.
Okay.
I agree with Cooch. Change is inevitable. And that's also something else in order to acquire a blissful connection that we have to master, is the changing of our mates, of our lover, if we're just having a relationship. Somebody like Karen, who has been married for a bazillion years, obviously has mastered the change that her husband, year to year, that he goes through. And something that made me open up my eye that I heard about a year ago was that it was from a lawyer, an attorney, said that the reason that most people get up at divorce court and say they're getting a divorce is because of my mate changed. And that just made me laugh so much, because thank God they're not the same person that you married 25 years ago. Goodness, I don't want to be who I was 5 years ago. I'm glad for the changes that I've evolved into now, year by year. So yeah, it is something that in order to have a healthy, blissful connection and a long-term marriage, we have to master that.
Thank you, Gabby. I'm going to flip the script for a little bit and go to Dr. Stevens. All men are dogs. All women are bees.
All women are what?
Bees.
Bees.
Bees as in bees. I'll let you and the audience fill in that blank. All men are dogs, all women are bees. It is a true and effective philosophy to live by. Myth or true?
Well, we know certainly that is not true. All men are not dogs, and all women are not female dogs. Unfortunately, due to hurt, pain, disappointment, setback, let down, abuse, neglect, rejection, and the lack of understanding, we will classify men as dogs, and they classify themselves there too as they're talking. They call each other, "Hey dog, you dog," "Hey dog."
I'm a dog.
But when you truly learned to separate the man from the masses and understand that individual, learn his strengths, his weaknesses, the best parts of him, and learn to communicate, you understand that all men are not dogs. There are men out there that are very loving, very caring, very understanding. And you cannot classify a man that's a good man, that's a godly man, compared to a man that's abusive.
This is comfortable news to Cooch in our ears. Thank you, Dr. Gabby, I heard you chuckle a couple of seconds ago. What's that all about?
Well, several things. First of all, I thought you said all women are bees, as in like bumblebees.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh, I was called Bumblebee at a Burning Man event a bazillion years ago. So I was just having my own good time over here. But I work with people on that because there's a lot of good people who, most of the crimes in today's jails are passion crimes. So know that I do have some compassion for the level that at the extremes that even the most healthy, emotionally intelligent person can experience a little chaos in the mindset with just a hurtful phone call or a non-response from a text from somebody they're digging at the moment. So love can take us to our darkest side. So I have some compassion for that area. And, there's certain people and certain behaviors in love that I will not work with because it crosses a vibration that I don't want to veer into. But I do believe that there is place for some compassion in this dog world. A lot of these dogs are really amazing, awesome, beautiful, loving men who just didn't know how to communicate properly, and their actions got them this label. So I try to work with them and bring them into their highest level of behavior in all relationships. And it usually, I find it's when I work with a dog, I feel like it stems from just the lack of communication or proper communication, just unidentified communication.
Can I add to that, Dr.
Yes,
Tate?
please.
From the male perspective, I would say this. Words are important, not just symbolic. And certain words create what is called a expectation, a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say that all women are bees, blank, the universe will conspire to prove that you're right. If you say all men are dogs, the universe will conspire to prove that either. So, again, it returns to loving ourselves. There are good, decent, loving, valuable men and women out there. And you have to be looking for the good often to find them. I'm not saying you have to fix them. I'm saying it's there. But if you're not looking for it, and if you're looking for the dog, in fact, you're calling each other dogs, you're creating something in the universe that is going to be very hard to fix in your life.
Manifesting. My workshop this past Sunday was called Manifest Valentine Love 2015. And I gave each client their love program for the year that they can look at every day before Valentine's Day for the rest of the year that will help them manifest the higher vibrations of an individual that they want, starting with themselves first. So what I heard from what you said, Cooj, is yes, we can manifest the dog. If we focus too much on men are dogs and this negative energy, we're going to bring more of that into our own life experience.
And I'd like to pick you off something Cooj said about words. The Word of God says, "Death and life lies in the power of the tongue," and we know that our words are powerful. And I tell every woman that I meet, we're talking about relationships. You have to speak to the king in a man. You have to build him up. You have to let him know who he is, especially if he's the man you want in your life. I don't want a dog. I want a king. But I need to know him. He needs to know that he is a great king, because it's my duty to make sure that when I speak to him, I speak to the king in him so that he stand up to be the king he needs to be in my life. And I expect that in return, because I'm going to put out what I want back.
Hallelujah, Dr. Stevens.
Wow. Let me wipe my brow for
Right on.
I'd like to follow up on that as well, Dr. Stevens, because I have found in my working with people and so forth that if you always focus on what you don't want, you'll continue to get what you don't want. So if you're focusing on that king, on where you want to go and the positive, that's where you're going to get what you want. If you say, I can't do something, well, you can't. But if you say you can empower yourself to take the steps to get there because it's what you want.
Absolutely. If you believe it, you definitely can achieve it.
Yes.
Going to you, Karen, with that, men who hit women can change. Myth or truth? Karen?
Oh, me? Oh,
No.
sorry.
No, Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
The statement was men who hit women can change. Myth or truth?
Men who hit women?
Yes. Can change.
I think it's very difficult for a man to change if he's a hitter. Unfortunately, I was married a short time before I married my first husband, and he was a hitter. And I did not stay in that abusive relationship. I got out of that relationship immediately. I have a lot of friends who've been involved, and without serious counseling and anger management and so on and so forth, I don't see him changing. And I will not put up with it. It's abusive, and we've taught our sons never hit a woman, and I don't think they ever have. So that's my opinion. Personally, I don't counsel people on that, but I'll pass that on to those that do counsel others about that type of situation.
Anybody want to get in on that one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe everyone can change. You cannot change without the love of God and the desire. You have to have a mindset. You have to have a shift. You have to have a paradigm shift in your thinking. But as Karen said, they definitely have to have counseling. Now, I will not be in an abusive relationship if it looks like abuse, if it sounds like abuse, if it smells like abuse, if it tastes like abuse. Michelle will not be there. However, I believe that everyone has an opportunity and can change, but you got to have a desire. You got to have a deep down want to change, and it takes practice. It's a practice. They learned how to be abusive. They watched it. They seen it. They grew up in it, and it's an area of control.
All right. All right. Gabby?
I agree. I agree with Dr. Stevens 100%. She said it. I could not say it any better.
Very good. Gabby, I'm on you right now. I'm afraid to be alone. Myth or truth?
I would hope that it is a myth for everyone, because if somebody is in search of a blissful connection, they have to master being alone with themselves. We have to really, I take it one step ahead in the I Love Me, You Love Me program, where I talk about self-lust. We must, to inspire the love of another and desire from another and a lustful feeling, attraction from another, we must lust ourselves. We have to be in love with all of this. I want to be, I enjoy being alone. Absolutely, there is a difference between the alone and feeling lonely. Sometimes I feel lonely, but I don't ever feel alone. So there is a bit of a difference there. I also take it one step further into we must feel fully self-fulfilled in our aloneness, all by ourselves, me, myself, and I, like Dr. Stevens said. Absolutely, that is something that's very important for the people out there that do feel alone, to please reach out for help in whatever venue that is most appropriate for you, whether it's through churches, whether it's through a psychologist, whether it's through a meditation group, whether it's with a coach.
Very good, Gabby. I want to ask each of you very shortly, within 30 seconds, that same 30 seconds we talked about earlier. Promoting a healthy love, and how can you be affected by a healthy love in 30 seconds? What could promote that? or what has that promoted in you a healthy love?
And basically, we're interested in what you're doing
Yeah, in your work.
in your work.
Are you asking me still?
And the whole panel.
So, so start with something.
Let's try Karen.
Well, what I do is help people on a program to create health in their lives. Because if they are healthy, they're going to be able to be better in any relationship. What I do is I have a 3-component system where people are struggling with their weight. The first phase of the program is weight loss, but it doesn't stop with that. So many times people lose weight, and then as soon as they get to their goal weight, that's the end. With our program, it's really just the beginning. And the second component is learning healthy habits. And it's not just about the body. It's about a healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy spirit. And then the support that goes along with it. 85% of people who go on a diet gain their weight back in 2 years because they didn't learn anything. They didn't do anything. So if someone can be healthy, it will help them be happy. They can incorporate healthy habits and surround their lives with the things that are most important to them.
Well, thank you, Karen. Gabby, same question.
Well, I urge anyone that is watching and listening to have a complimentary 30-minute love counsel session with me so I can see if I do have anything of value to offer your particular needs in that moment. Also, the way to get started with me, it's $188 for a month program with me, and that includes 1 month of calls, texts, and emails as needed between me and the client, and includes an 1.5-hour session where it's more like a psychoanalysis session where I gather information from the past and we go into what they're wanting to manifest, what are their desires in the current moment. And then I create a specific love counsel program too, and it's all inclusive in that $188. Now I have some strong clients and that are wanting to go deeper, and I have $1,100 programs that are a total of 88 days, and those are intensive, and we speak just about every day on that, on those programs.
Dr. Stevens.
I am self-assured and confident. I'm a phenomenal woman of the greatest kind. I am the perfection of a marvelous woman. I am unique. Self-esteem is so, so important. Independence, knowing how to love yourself, date yourself, and go out and take yourself out. Because if you don't know how to love yourself, you cannot recognize how a person's supposed to teach you and treat you. So I don't mind taking myself out and open the door for me because I expect a man to open the door for me. It doesn't matter to me who man he is. If he leaves that door before I get there, I'm going to wait to open the door. I know what fork goes on. I know where my plate is supposed to sit and what side my glass is supposed to be on and where my fork is supposed to be. And I know how to feed you because I'm going to teach you how to feed me. So, you know, self-esteem is so important. And I deal with women who deal with low self-esteem because one thing, I don't need you to pump me up. I like you to pump me up, but I can do enough of that. You know, Paul said when there was no one to encourage me, I encourage myself. So I don't need you to pump me up, but you know, compliments are always nice. So I teach women how to love themselves. You know, because if you don't know you're supposed to look good, you know, and looking good makes you feel good, fixing yourself up. But if you don't know that, and some people never even told that when they grow up, they're not told I love you. They don't know how to express love. So you know they have to be taught. So I teach them how to talk to themselves. Put that mirror in front of you, and you tell yourself, and no one else tell you, I'm beautiful.
Dr. Stevens, could you tell us about your book?
Yes. High Heels and Lipstick. High Heels and Lipstick came out of hurt, pain, past abuse, and you know I took many years. I after my divorce, I entered another relationship, another marriage, and it ended quickly because I realized, you know, I made a choice, made a decision, being hurt, out of hurt and pain, and it's a 31-day journal for women. And it helps them to deal with those very issues we're talking about, low self-esteem, abuse. You know, I love one of my days in is titled Mr. Right, Mr. Wrong. And most women, when they look at it, the first thing they think about is choosing a man. And it's really not about choosing the right man or the wrong man, because it doesn't matter which man you choose. If you are not together, he will never be right and he will never be wrong. And you can find my book on Amazon.com, and it has high heels and lipsticks on it. It's phenomenal. I've had many reviews on it, and women say it speaks to them. You know, and it's been given to young girls as early as young as 14 years old, because they too now sexually active, entering bad relationships. You know, they come from all. I deal with young ladies and women from all walks of life, from foster care, abusive situations, sex and human trafficking. You know, they suffer abuse of some of the worst kind, mental, emotional, physical, and they need to know how to heal and love themselves back to life.
I was going to blast you out, but you did a good job. I'm just waiting for the men version to come out.
Yes, I have a man's version coming out titled Bootstraps and Bow Ties.
All right.
All right. We're going to go ahead, and I want to thank my distinguished guests. Thank you very, very much. And I want to thank you authentically, because it was a short time that I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, that I called. And y'all came and ran, and I truly appreciate that. Truly I do. Dr. Stevens, businesswoman, counselor, speaker, your book is going to be #1. I feel it. 31-day journal. Karen Marshall, coach, health coach. Thank you very much. Gabby, international love coach. I wish I was there with you when you were doing your thing in New York this past Sunday. Coach, power educator. Thank you for being my mentor and being with me through this difficult step and stage in my life. I want to welcome y'all in about another 10 more minutes, I would say, to our next show, Risking Embarrassment for Love. That should be a good show with my same panel. So sit back and relax and tune in to the next show. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.